So I remember towards the end, when I left in September, as I've already said, we were discussing about, what is there something going on that we can't explain? And I recall before I left, walking through the intensive care units, and there was a huddle of nurses in the corner over the computer. And I asked what they were doing, and one of the nurses replied that they were going through the rota just to make sure that there wasn't somebody that was on for each one. I can't recall precisely what she said, so I'm paraphrasing, but it was very much, it's an awful thing to think, but we're just looking.
So these were nurses?
Nurses specifically, yes. Neonatal nurses.
Neonatal nurses. Do you remember which one?
No, I don't.
So a group of nurses trying to work out, were they looking for the deaths?
I don't know. They were huddled over the computer, and one of the nurses said to me, we're looking through the rota to see if anyone was on for all of them. And I don't know what them they refer to in particular.
And what did you say to that, if anything?
I don't recall saying anything. I remember being quite shocked and thinking, I agreed that it's an awful thing to think. I mean, it is the unthinkable. But that's what they were discussing.
But by September 2015, it sounds like people were thinking the unthinkable. There may be a link.
They were starting. Yes, they were starting to think the unthinkable.
So this came from Dr. Rachel Lambie, who was a junior doctor nearing the end of her training. She said she spoke to Dr. Gibbs because she'd been on duty when baby A died, and the following night when his sister baby B collapsed in a similar manner. She said she and her colleagues were shocked by baby A's death and were worried after baby B's collapse and baby D's death because all three displayed an unusual rash while they were undergoing CPR. And of course, much later on, Lucy Letby was convicted of attacking them all with an injection of air into their bloodstreams.
But at the time, Dr. Lambie said the doctors couldn't find a medical explanation for the collapses, and she was concerned because baby A and B were in incubators next to each other in nursery 1. She said the doctors were worried there could be some kind of infection, some kind of virus or mould or fungus on the ward, or perhaps bags of the intravenous feed that had been given to the babies or equipment had been contaminated in some way. So she escalated those concerns to Dr. Gibbs, and she told the inquiry that the succession of deaths and collapses had caused a feeling of trepidation on the unit and left the doctors feeling nervous before they came on shift.
So I certainly remember within the hospital, our team at handover, it was a regular topic of conversation. At handover for a day or a night shift, I remember on more than one occasion, almost a heart-sink feeling of, oh gosh, what's going to happen today? The unit felt, I don't know if busier is the right way to describe it, but it felt different. And there was almost an air of anticipation of what's going to happen.
She also told the inquiry that she was particularly anxious at this time because around a fortnight before baby A's death, she'd also been on duty when there was another very, very unusual event. The inquiry wasn't told the exact details of this, although Dr. Lambie confirmed she's given a statement to Cheshire Police, and we know that their investigation into Lucy Letby is ongoing.
I'm pretty sure it was Dr. Gibbs I spoke to about that incident. Right. It was a very, very unusual incident, something I've never experienced before or since.
She stressed to the inquiry that everyone on the unit was talking about what was happening and that Dr. Gibbs and the other consultants were listening to their junior colleagues' concerns. And she said she spoke to another doctor that she trusted from another hospital because what she described as the very significant series of events were playing on her mind.